I just felt silly in the moment. Welcome to Can Angels Fly. I'm Nancy. Yes, welcome once again. She's on fire. Who's on fire? I am Nancy here at Can Angels Fly. Oh, my neck. Oh, okay. Now, this video is about education. Don't push stop. Don't push stop. I need to talk about the importance of education. And I'm talking about education in a wide spectrum, from a wide spectrum. But you know how I communicate. You got to ride the wave with me so you can get the gist of what I'm sharing. So in this video, I'm going to tell a story, a couple of stories, very brief, short stories. I want to talk about God as the ultimate teacher and chemtrails. And I also want to talk about our world structure and how it has monopolized education and therefore awareness. Lately, I've been quoting scriptures out of the Bible I used to study. Now I refer to it quite often. I find myself referring to it quite often. And that book is called the King James Version Bible. Again, whenever you hear me talk about church stuff, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just using it as a reference. So here I like to quote a biblical scripture. I think it's called scripture. And I didn't pull it up. I going by memory. So it's very loose and quote. Well, it can't be a quote if it's just loose, huh? But you get the gist of it. And the scripture said in the Bible, what is it? The verse says, "Hey, my people will die for a lack of knowledge." What people? People that God's people in line with God will die for a lack of knowledge. Knowledge is brought on by learning, and you learn through an education, again, on different levels. So I don't plan for this video to be very long. Now, I just want to tell these two stories real quick about two instructors that I had in the course of my college life, because they were important figures in my life. But I don't want to forget. I always forget. But just ride the wave with me. I'm going to try to remember. Okay. One instructor, she's my art history professor. Her name was Perlove. And Perlove spoke or lectured her class somewhat similar to how I do here on YouTube. She was highly dramatic and so you couldn't fall asleep in her class. And I don't know, I think this class might have been 2 hours, 3 hours long, I don't know, but you couldn't go to sleep. It was like every time as she gave whatever presentation she was giving. And so when she would ask a question, I'm like, whew. And she got to the point where she said, Nancy, put your hand down. Just put your hand. Just put your hand down. Anybody else other than Nancy. And I know this woman don't know how inspiring, I'll say, she was to me. I just want to give it up to her, homage to her, Miss Perlove, and her dramatic delivery of the educational material, which was in discipline of art history, drama. Getting the people to be involved. That's what she was good at. Get good at getting the people to be involved and engaged. And I mean, her whole body was in, and her voice would rise and fall. Oh, she was my girl. And I guess we had a lot in common. So she inspired me to stay free and to keep speaking so dramatically. Another teacher I like to talk about, I want to say it was maybe social economics or something. I don't even remember what it was. But it was this, they were both Caucasian teachers, Miss Perlove, and this other teacher name was Mr. John. And I remember the first day of class, Professor John insulted everybody. I live near Dearborn, Michigan. So there's a lot of Arabic. So, you know, the United States is a melting pot. So it was a lot of different cultures, but there were a lot of Arabics because it was in where it's at. in Dearborn. African Americans, Caucasians, and whatever else was there, some Chinese or whoever. First few days in a week, he insulted everybody in the class. He used every, what do you call it? Oh goodness, what is the word? Let me see. Let me kind of back up on that story because it's an amazing story. He was also a very inspiring teacher. And first day in class is full. He begins to speak, not lecture, just to speak. He insulted everyone every single day for the first week. Right now, I'm just talking about that first day. He was politically incorrect 100%. Everything from, what do you call it, like racial slurs. Well, I'm sitting in class, like I was like maybe the second seat from him, like, but in between his burst of radical, it was very, I can't think of the words, and we use them all the time now in our culture. Everybody's doing it. I mean, he was racial in just his speech. He was disrespectful. He was a belligerent asshole. Seemed like he was a racist or something, a white supremacist or something. But in between those bursts, he would say something really profound, right in the middle. Very short, very brief. And then he'd go back to ranting and raving and acting crazy, and everybody sitting up there. And we look around at each other like, oh Lord, what do we do? So people were getting mad. They were angry, of course. And they were getting out, and they would walk out. It was people that walked out within 10 minutes of the class, very first class, that you walk out and not come back, going to the office to the dean and reporting this man. Me and I think it was like 4 others. We just like, what the fuck? Excuse me, it was nothing. What the fuck going on here? Disbelief. And then that moment, that second will come where he say something so direct. It would seem so, it was insignificant, but it was profound. The second week, we come in. It was only 5 of us, I think it was. It was a couple of fellas and about 3 ladies. It was about 5 of us. Everybody else got insulted, left, went and dropped his class, reported him, did everything. He didn't give a dang. And so when he came to class, he was so shocked. Because, I mean, he had ripped a mud hole in everybody behind culturally. I mean, he talked about us like a dog. I mean, everything you can talk about a person about, he done stood in our face. And, I mean, he didn't never say you directly, directly. He didn't say that. But he just was like lashing. It was like you could just kind of see the spirit and the energy in the air. But I don't want to jump. This story is so amazing. He just really inspired me, and I want to pay homage to Mr. John. His behavior, I heard, did end up getting him in tremendous trouble, but he was amazing. And so the first day, second week, the 5 of us are still there. He comes into the classroom like, y'all still here? Your dummies are still here, like that. And so he was like, yeah. So he, closed the door, and he finally, he talked to us, finally. I mean, he had been saying things and engaging us, but this day, he asked us each why we were still there after all that. And so each of us had a moment, 2 minutes to speak. And we told him why. Each of us. Of course, each of us, it was different. We didn't know each other. We were all from different backgrounds. I think it was a Caucasian guy. It was me, couple of black chicks. I think it was an Arabic, young woman and man, like 5 or 6 of us, whatever. And so he's like, he had tears in his eyes. because it wasn't just me. It's like the shallow could not see what he was doing. I guess his behavior later got him in a lot of trouble, even legal trouble, which I can understand why. We live in a sensitive world. Again, he wasn't directly shooting or aiming at anybody. He was ranting all the things we talk about in this world today. Everything that, all the hate that we have. He was just shooting, but he was speaking almost like it was him saying it to us, but he never directed it to us. He just threw it into the air. And people were insulted. They walked out and bought charges up against him, did everything, and so after we all said it, he was like, he says, y'all the ones that's meant to be here. He says, I needed to get rid of those that, basically, I don't remember exactly how he said, but he was basically saying, hey, I needed to get rid of all of you, all of the people that wasn't here to learn and learn what this world is really about and what's really going on. So he broke it down, letting us know why. He never said, I'm not a racist. He never said, I'm sorry. He just like, I had to get rid of the riffraff, those that weren't worthy of this information. He was cool cat. I was like, all right. After that, we was on the road. We were on the road. That man, I only had him a semester. And then not another vulgar or disrespectful thing ever came out of his mouth. No, it was unity. It was crazy how he taught and inspired. It was unity, and we all worked together. That man, I'm gonna let it go, but he told me a couple of things. If you follow the system's instructions to a T, by the time you retire, you shouldn't have to work all the way to your 70 or something. You should have at least $1 million in the bank to live on. That's what he showed me. He taught us. That was one. And the other thing that was really critical, he taught me, he is the foundation of me understanding law. Now, understand the way he taught, it didn't take no whole semester to learn nothing. In a week's time, you had the basic core gist of it, and you was off and running. You was off and running. If you follow my channel, you hear me say I done did my own battles. I've defended myself. I done had some issues. And it's all because of that man. And that's just one. I'm not going to go on and on and on about all he gave me. But just wanted to give homage to him, Mr. John and Miss Perlove, and I pray their strength and peace. This video is about education. And now I want to talk about our current world structure and education. We know all the different levels of education from preschool all the way up to higher master degrees and doctrines and stuff. We know that whole process. You get to graduate. You got to graduate to learn. Now, that wasn't the way it was meant to be. The natural way, the natural process of this realm life that we are in teaches us. If we popped out the womb without being influenced by our world structure, we would learn. Life is the teacher. God has set it in motion. You gonna learn. And you will gravitate and master that field or that art or that field of study that really resonates with you, who you are, what you naturally understand. You will be a master to your best of your ability. However, all of us that have been born into this world have been affected or influenced by our world structure and its structure of education, which disrupts you. Let's talk about here in the United States. I know some countries don't even have what do we call adequate education, but yet they are intercepting or interjecting on the natural process of learning. But I'm going to focus here on the United States. I hope I'm making this make sense. Here in the United States, you're born, you stay home to about the age of 5, and then you start going out to Head Starts and all kind of things, and then first grade. That's the interjection that comes in right away. It's the stopping you from learning from life in a natural way that will ultimately take you to your field, the field you would resonate with and be most successful at. It stops that by 5. Boom, you a head start. After that, you have to continue. You are forced to continue to move through the cycles as set up by our world structure. And how can I say this? So, you move one grade to the next, one level of education to the next, elementary, middle school, high school, college, grad school, yada, yada, yada. But you are only able to move ahead if you show mastery across the border of what they're teaching you. What they're teaching you is a filtration. It's a filtration system, is what I'm trying to get. It's a filtration system. You can't. Let's talk about kids in elementary. Your kid can't sit down. Meaning they can't be controlled. They ADHD and they label. It's all these disciplinary acts, and I was guilty too because I didn't know, and this pisses me off. Sit down, be still, pay attention to the teacher. But you're talking to an Aries motivated child, one that's ready to go, one that's ready to hunt, one that's ready to play. Based on our world structure and how it is orchestrated, the education of the young immediately cuts that child off from his natural abilities, that which it would be a child would be more successful at. And another thing, it depends on what our world structure the government wants to achieve during any decade. If they don't need warriors and military and that kind of thing, that's not their focus. Guess what? They're not going to love on children like that. No, you're bad. You need some medication. Sit down. That's not what we're looking for in this decade. We are looking for scientists. So now we're looking for scientists and mathematicians. So any child that can advance in that will allow to keep going from one level of education to the next with no problem. We'll add a little more money. We'll give a little more grants because that's what we need during this particular decade is we need scientists and mathematicians. But if that is not the case, then, the kids, that can pass along. And during this decade, we need some artists. They very rarely say this. That's why it's starving artists. But we need some artists. We need some muse. So what we'll do is we'll take the children that are proficient in that area, naturally proficient in that area, and we'll help them move forward, and we'll give them some grants and move them along. But if a child fails to go, now mind you, the way our educational system is constructed? You have a child has a full schedule, and it covers all the potential areas of study, natural areas of study. And they're educated in each of those areas to see which one they're proficient at. How can we get them to move forward in life to satisfy or to work for the government or our current world structure? But if a child fails to, okay, you can't make it here in science, you can't make it here in mathematics, you can't make it here in physical ed, they don't want you. They don't want you. But this is what happens because, what am I trying to say? If a child was born into the world naturally, the way it was meant to be, and life itself taught that child, then that child will come to know what its field of study is, that field in which it can master. And so it doesn't have to worry about really engaging any other field outside of its natural expertise and abilities, which they can be proficient at. And they can keep moving on that course. But in the educational system, that is immediately taken from them. I don't know how to, I'm trying to paint the picture. Paint the picture. Children that are capable of satisfying like all the curriculum. You know, it takes that to satisfy all the curriculum and all the classes across the board, earn all the credits you have to earn at every level to keep moving forward, to go through our school system successfully. But it's never, it's broken down. It's broken down like the factory line in Henry Ford. Nobody knows the whole recipe. You know, nobody but Ford owns the whole car. It's the same thing in the educational system is what I'm trying to draw a picture of. The child, a child, is, or you, me, we are educated in a way where you never ever, I'm going to stop because I'm messing up. I'm going to give you an example. I got one more story. Since I've been in this world going through the educational system, I just kept I kept having problems in science, problems in math. Like in science, one of the things it was, biology, where they wanted me to cut up on the frog and stuff like that. I wasn't cutting no frog open. Guess what I got? A D. I fell out, had a tantrum. I was in middle school, high school too. I'm not cutting nothing open. I'm not killing nothing. I don't care if it's there. I ain't doing it. So that was really against my morals. I was totally creeped out about it. No, think it's wrong. Still couldn't do it today. I might be able to do it today. Have more tough skin. I don't know. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let me go. By the time I got to college, I failed. Oh, we ain't gonna talk. I'm gonna leave science alone. I finally made my way through science, but mathematics. I need you to really pay attention to the story because what I can't explain, I can let you help you understand with this story. And so in mathematics, I failed math in college 5 times, the same class 5 times. I just kept going back, and I just kept asking the instructor, as I would in science, but especially in math. I was like, wow, how I know that? Where it come from? What were they asking me to do? I think it was algebra that I kept failing. College level algebra, whatever it was. I kept failing. And I was like, now you just instructed me to add up the ends. I'm sitting here looking at 4 ends, so it's 4 ends. There's 4 ends here. No, that ain't it, whatever. There's like, you got to learn the rules and then just do it. You know, no. They didn't even say that. So they kept trying to teach me all the 5 class, kept failing. And I kept saying, why? And how I'm going to add up letters. And how I know this is that. And, oh yeah, it was some math with the, I still ain't got good at it. Length, width, diameter, radius, pi, all them things. I don't know how you know. Well, how you know? That's all I would say. I was in college. How do you know? Make it make sense to me. Nobody could. Now, listen to the story. Maybe you'll understand where I'm trying to go. Has somebody, anybody, said, Nancy, sit down. Let me talk to you. These mathematic equations, these problems, this class is the world. If you want to know how you breathing, if you want to know the space that you're standing in, if you want to have a chance to rule the world, this is it. Hey, if you want to understand where you're standing right now, this is the answer. You know what I'm saying? Had they let me know that it was life that I was dealing with, and this was the rules to life. Nobody ever said these were the rules to life, and this is how you make life make sense. I'm still not doing a good job at it, but that's what natural science was. That's what math was. It was this life, this world. And that's what I'm trying to say is missing from the educational system, because it's not personally for an individual, a child, me, or you. or any other individual coming through the educational system. It's not for your betterment. It's not for your use, but it is for the use of our structure or our government. And they want to make sure that you don't know on an individual basis. Because if you know on an individual basis, you can use it to help yourself, to sustain yourself and anybody up under your care. So they have to make sure. So a step by step is what I was trying to say when I was talking about the different discipline. They give you a little bit at a time. The factory line, like you're hearing before, they give you a little bit at a time as they edge you closer to doing something for them, to fulfilling their agenda. But it's never about making sure that you know how to create medicine for yourself, or how to feed yourself, or how the oxygen levels and what affects or influences them, or how sound affects or influences on a day-to-day basis. Because like me, niggas stuck in the hood now have no understanding of why they're dying. You know why? Because they never mastered any of those classes, because they got hemmed up. They got stuck. They got stuck. Where me, I just kept asking questions. Why? Make it make sense. How I'm going to add up letters. Letters are used for spelling. Make it make sense. Nobody could tell me. It's as if there was an oath that exists to not let a person know that these were the rules to life. The actual life itself. I'm not talking about getting up, going to work, going to the bar, going to the barbershop. I'm talking about life, that thing that gives you breath, allows you to see, hear, touch, in order for us to go out in space as far as we can, or as deep in the ocean as we can. Understanding the minerals and the elements are the things that we use. All that alchemist stuff was still being hidden from us. Just like it was back in the medieval times. It was hid in our educational system. It was hid away from us. And that's what I was trying to say, is that's why kids are not mastering themselves. See, life naturally would have taught us all at least a little something about life that we would have been capable of mastering. We would have been proficient in. But no, by 5 is interjected by our social structure. The way it has decided to structure the educational system to make sure that every individual don't master shit, so that you'll be dependent on our social structure. And if you do master it, if you show that you can be proficient, that you can graduate from level to level, by the time you get the degree, you're so indebted to this structure. Like, thank you for giving me this education. When they hijacked it. They hijacked the education, learning from the people intentionally, to indebt them, to work for them, to fill their agenda. Remember, I opened up this video before I got all lost and mixed all up and rambling, that in the Bible, it used to study that I referred to, is that my people would die for a lack of knowledge. I want you to chew on that, digest that. So, now, I said I wanted to talk about chemtrails in God. Now, biblical, that Bible, I like it. I do. However, I know it is written by man, and man is corrupt. I want to say something that I believe is the case when it comes to the Bible. I don't know about any other book, but I'm assuming it's pretty similar. And so right now I'm referring to the King James Version Bible and how it was written. I still don't have a phrase that I can say to sum it up. I'm going to figure one out. But what I can say is that historically, there were people that knew the answers. As they walked through the social structure of their times, they saw the corruptness. They saw the plan. They saw how life or salvation was being hijacked from the masses, from humanity. And so, like, how can I say this? King James hired some scribes, a priest, or whoever wrote the King James Bible, whoever decided to put what into the Bible. I hired them folks. And them folks were highly intelligent folks, of course. And they realized that very important information was being about to be used to manipulate humanity, portions of humanity, in a way of religion. How can I say this? Let's say, hypothetically, case scenario, King James says we have a requirement to let the people know all that's taking place. Because it seemed like everything, I ain't gonna go, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. We're responsible for letting all of humanity know what we're doing. So we're gonna write out this booklet and we're gonna pass it out among the masses so they understand what's taking place. But if we do that, then we can't set up these traps. We can't hijack their education or knowing if they know the truth. So what we will do is write out these terms and conditions, this guide, and we will present it to them as religion. And we will have the pastors get in front of the church and say the first will be the last and the last will be the first, and those that are oppressed will believe that it's talking about them taking a lead eventually over those that have oppressed them, or something like that. And then we'll give it to the people, and we can say we have legal coverage. I'll say that we have made good on our part. We informed the people, and the people don't know any difference. We will tell the people, hey, there is healing here in this physical plane. And the people will believe, and we'll tell them that Jesus is the healer. And they will go to church and they will pray and praise and say, yes, Jesus is the healer. There is healing. The people will die for a lack of knowledge because they don't understand that the healing is in those disciplines, that education that they would have received from the life directly had we not hijacked it. But they'll be faithful to religion and to God, because who steps on God? Who talks down to God? Who talks to the Savior or salvation? We will make the people believe that there is a Savior outside of themselves, and so they can basically do what they want to do, be judgmental and everything else, and be real religious, but never be accountable for themselves. See, that is the trickery related to the Bible. The Bible, from what I'm seeing, is true. It really is. It's a very condensed document that expands outwardly. It is what we call the living Bible. It really is. But most of us don't even get to expand it. We never learn how to expand it. It said, my people will die for a lack of knowledge. You're dying because you don't even know how to expand it. You're dying because you don't realize you are your own salvation. It is about your behavior and your ability to cohabitate in this earth. It is your ability is opened up to you to learn this physical realm, learn how to work with it. But it's been hijacked from you. It says, my people will die from a lack of knowledge. So, let me see why I'm preaching. I'm preaching. Is that right there, all of that, is what I'm saying is that the Bible itself, at least the King James Version Bible, really does have some hardcore facts in it. They still have to be unpacked, just like, what is it called? The memory on a computer. You know how they had a compression? See, the Bible is a document that has been compressed. And you have to learn how to expand those files. 1. Number 2, that Bible tells you all that you need to know about this realm. However, you won't activate it because you don't know that that is what it is. You don't understand when it say it's an instruction book. You don't understand the gist of it. Number 1, you haven't even fully unpackaged it. And it has been presented to you by some higher ups, some authority figures, some people wanting control, wanting maybe to dominate the world and your soul. They presented it to you as religion, and you got caught up in it. And you're still asleep. So that's important to recognize. Number 2 is that Bible ain't what you think. I'm a creative phase that's going to be in a few words, thank you, Miss Perla, that will identify what that Bible really is and how not being coming to understand what it is and activating it for what it is can be detrimental. My people will die for lack of knowledge. But if you can be enlightened, be a source of your own salvation, and implement that information, you will have the information to help you live more comfortably in this realm and to ensure the comfortability of future generations. Now, I want to talk about, with that being said, that information right here on this earth that's been hidden away from y'all. Now I want to talk about astrology, chemtrails, and God himself still speaks to us. Because God knew man wasn't going to be right. Shit, they in the flesh. How can you be right when you're in the flesh? He knew. So, he still talks to us, I do believe. And it's in the stars, astrology. Although first we got the astronomy. We've what they call plotted and coursed all the stars and gave them the attributes and studied them. See, that's a part of our realm, our physical realm. But pay attention. They want us to believe that they done went to outer space and see the moon. I'm scratching my back. It was itching. It's bad. Anyway, they want us to believe that they've gone to the moon and stuff. I never believed that. People are coming to see, they ain't went there. You know why they haven't been there? Because it's out of their reach. It's not in their grasp. That line in the heavens, that man can't break through even with the level of technology they have. Now, they can go up there. They can put some stuff up there that look mighty fancy. From our perspective, the folks that can't get off this land, So it look mighty fancy up there. But there are heavens, deep space, we'll say. And all of those stars that we study, somebody then wrote something, configured something, and let us know something. And it seems, now this is just a theory, of course, because who am I? But God say, I know you can't come past this space here. I know that I, God, am a provider, and I've given you all that you need in that self-contained ecosystem, including the rules. But I know you're corrupt. So, you can't come above here. I can go, I'm God, I can go anywhere I want to go. But I know you can't come above here. So up here in the stars, I continue to write messages to my people all through the generations. But you couldn't see me. You couldn't see my writings and my communications with you because what? It was hijacked down in your realm. People didn't know. Some people knew, some select people knew, but the general public, the masses, humanity, they didn't know. And my people will die for a lack of knowledge. I can't let that happen. So I'll bring in the age of Aquarius. I'm going to be a storyteller one day. And so God writes these messages in the air so that we can hear from him. He communicating with us because he know man down here corrupt. So what do man do once again? Okay, we can't get up there to influence the message that God is given to humanity. And humanity is in the age of Aquarius. They are gaining enlightenment. They know now. And they're learning how to astronomy. They're learning astronomy. They're learning astrology. And they're learning to read the message from God that we can't infiltrate. We can't stop. Oh, or can we? So then they start making chemtrails, blocking out the sky so that you can't see it. An important message might come through, but you can't see it because there are chemtrails in the sky. I just felt like preaching y'all until next time for Can Angels Fly.